Today is July 4th of the Big Lie, 2018. Get ready for the Emerging Sea broadcast system, the Forbidden History series, what they didn't want you to know, but we tell right here, because somebody's got to do it. So do tell your friends, and stand by for the broadcast. Please note that the following views and the opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily the views nor the opinions of the Master Force Group, YouTube.com, Free America Radio Network, our sponsors, our partners, and MFG is a private society. And nothing here is ever to be construed as hate, medical, nor legal advice. And listen to the Forbidden History prime time 7 days a week right here on the realpublicradio.net, because hidden beneath the sands of time lies the greatest of all mysteries. It's the Forbidden History. Unearth for yourself the secret truths that lie hidden just beneath the surface below our feet. What is it that the powers that be do not want you or I to know? Come and journey with us as we explore and dare to know, because it's all right here, coming your way 7 days a week, twice a day, on the realpublicradio.net, Free America Radio Network. And that's 9 a.m. every morning, 8 p.m. every evening, live on the air, through the stream, in your neck of the woods around the world. You did tell your friends, right? Thanks for doing that. Coming to you live from Studio Z at the Lighthouse in Central Ohio, and Free America Radio Network in the land of dreams, enchantments, and nightmares. It's the Forbidden History series, what they didn't want you to know, but we tell right here. The piracy of words, the great lies of history, and a whole lot more. If you've been tuning in, you know. So I run out. I can't even remember my list. It's so long. But welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Desert Owl, Bird Who Sees the Night. Hey, Lynn, very good. And look, real quick before we get started, I need to do a test, okay? Because I think I might know the problem of that audio when I tried on Saturday when I tried to do Dane Wigington. And so I'm going to just play a little snippet of Matt Rogers, and then, you give me the heads up. I'll play it for about 10 seconds. I'm not going to play it long. I'm going to watch my meter. My meter is going to tell me that it's being picked up on my desktop, but I think I'm doing something different, so maybe it'll come through this time. So everybody stand by for the broadcast. We just have to do an audio check here real quick. So 10 seconds on that. I'm going to it right now. Here goes Matt Rogers, continuing. I was watching it a little while ago. Here we go.
Picked up in the central area of this webcam. This indeed is called the Pan America cam in Mexico. And I do believe fully that is importance as well of just keep going to the webcams and keep searching.
Okay, so Lynn, did that audio come through? Did you hear anything, or was it 10 seconds of dead air? Need the feedback. Okay, I guess we've got like a minute delay or so on the audio here, so we'll find out in a second here. Okay, so in the meantime, I have another quote that we got from the political activism scene, and that was, the elite don't care what the answers are, as long as you're asking the wrong questions. Okay, and so think about that. If you start asking the right questions, then you might be having a problem. I bet you Lynn walked away. I bet you she got settled in, and then she had to walk away, and so she never heard me talking to her. Lynn, where are you? Are you there? Did we do an audio check? Okay, we'll have to wait for a few more friends to come by and try it. But anyway, I'm glad to get a heads up from her. She's been a real trooper here with the broadcast. And yeah, don't ask questions, lady. As long as you're asking the wrong questions, they don't care. In fact, I wrote that down wrong. Is what I did. As long as you're asking the wrong questions, they don't care what the answers are. That's why I should have wrote it. So we're in the big lie today, ladies and gentlemen. The fourth of the big lie. And we had a supposed independence, and I've got a call coming in. Hang on, stand by. Good morning, Jody. How are you?
Yeah, it worked.
Thank you. Oh, in other words, you heard the Matt Rogers, huh?
Yes, I did. Worked.
Wonderful. That's good. Yeah, I had to do a little, switching out of plugs, and then I realized, something I could try. So thank you so much for that heads up, Jody. That's a good deal. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, we'll talk to you later. Hey, wait a minute. Did you get set up on the chat yet?
No, but I did talk to her yesterday.
Okay,
So,
Love Matters is going to help you out. That's a good deal. Thank you.
Yes, yes, she's so wonderful.
Great. Maybe she call me sometime. Okay, take care.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay. So, and there she is. Speaking of Love Matters, there she is. Good morning, and thank you for all that love you spread there. Love Matters is very great. And Diane, Matt Rogers was a 10. Thank you so much. And so so Lynn's going to realize she missed her opportunity here, but that's okay. She's here every day. I don't know how, and so she's certainly entitled to walk away from the mic, because she's just helping out. She's a real, and she's getting these words when she talks to me. She's talking to me in the, starting to use some new lingo and respelling her words and using some of that original thought. So it's rather fun to see this evolution of thinking going on here, and that's right where I wanted to go, ladies and gentlemen, actually, because we need to talk about the words again, okay? Because it's like I was laying in bed this morning and it was all coming to me, and it's like, whoa, I got to go back to that scripture again. So here we are. Go to 1 John, or you can just listen, and let's get this picture again, okay? We've really got it because I'm so honored with my small little group of friends, that come here practically every program, because they're seeing something. They know there's something going on here, and so in the Gospel of John, listen to this again, because like I say, I've got a few friends, and they've known me for over a decade. Some of them closer to 20 years, and and they still use all the pagan terms. They're still, after they know Desert has dedicated his life. He's been willing to live in poverty and not to have an automobile, and and not have a regular job, so that he could do this full time, and to get the vision and the mystery of life. Of course, the government beat me up 20 years ago, so it helped me not to want to work, to pursue this knowledge, because I knew this was so important, and doing broadcasting from a grassroots level. I don't get paid for it. It's about helping other people out, sharing, and of course, when I used to do my victim in prison outreach, we'd always help the victims. They call, we send them to somebody that could help them, depending upon their problem or situation. So I had an activist organization, 2 of them, and then an activist radio network. So we were helping victims. Okay, so that was far more important than me just going ahead and having a fancy automobile, big car, and and gourmet food. Okay, so there's things more important in life. But so let's look at the words now, because it's profound. In the beginning. Now in the King James, it's all past tense. Give me a break. Past tense? We're in the present moment. Always in the present moment. So it's not in the beginning was the Word. It's in the beginning is the Word. And the Word is with God, not was with God. Like, in other words, not no more. And I'm using the word God. I'm using their, the Western paganized version. So let's say read it correctly. Take out the word was, because it's in there, and then the word was God. No, you see, that's a cultic. That's the voodoo. They just said, well, it was, but it is no more. That's what was means. Was is no more. You see, it's a cultic. They're playing the voodoo, hoodoo, woodoo, poodoo, moodoo. And we got to see it. It's so subtle. Remember yesterday I said that the smallest words are the most powerful, and they direct everything. Just like, remember the right to bear arms, but it never comes, because 2 is in the future, going to the store. You're not there yet. And so let's do that again. Okay, in the beginning is the Word, and the Word is with God, or the great Elohim, and the Word is God, or the great Elohim, or Yahweh. Okay, or who they say Lord. They want to use Lord, which actually is Middle English. It means our mother who gave us our bread. And that's India in the metaphor. So So listen to this. The word is God. The word is the great Elohim. The word is Yahweh. And so how could anybody not want to pay attention to the word when it is? In other words, what I was seeing, in other words, now let's take it back to the beginning when the gnosis was breathed into Adam. Oh, and then it leads up to what I missed. And I got to go grab that card because I put it in words. And now I'm going to have to pull it out because it's part of the conversation. I can't get over it. I missed something yesterday in that chimera, the big one. I totally forgot the big, the big one. And so I'm going to do it now. Okay. Hang on. I'm just readjusting my cards. I'm a 3x5 card man all the way, and I've got 40,000 3x5 card notes with notes and everything else. Okay, quotes and symbols. It's been a and it's 20 years worth. Okay, basically. And when I watch documentaries, I write it down. So let's go back to Adam when the gnosis was breathed into him. And so when the gnosis was breathed into Adam, it means that he was able to communicate. Okay? Immediately, boom, he is a conscious entity that can communicate with the one who makes all things and made all things, Yahweh, and Yeshua, the great Elohim, because they are one. Okay? So the first thing that occurred with our race is the ability to communicate with the Shavor, with the word, which is the Savior, which is the first and latter Shavor, the shower, the rain, the flaming sword. And so, in other words are gods in that sense, or words are the great Elohim. In other words, the words, the Shavors are the serpent that can twist to the right or twist to the left. And words rule. But who owns all things, right? Who owns all things? All things are owned by Yahweh. So the symbols and however the tricksters want to play their little magic on us, they can't. They call themselves the all-seeing eye, right? Because they're watching everybody. They're the big spy. They're spying on us. They're listening on the phone. They got us registered with the government, all that. But we know that our Redeemer is the eye. He knows what's in their heart, what's in their mind, how many hairs are on their head, and they can't escape him. And so he knew exactly the tricks they were going to play, and he put in their mind through their arrogance how they would do it, so that when it finally comes down the pike, like with somebody like me, then immediately he's able to use me to decode it so that we can get back to the beginning. We got to get back to the beginning. Okay? So the words rule. And so the words rule you for better or for worse. For better or for worse. How are the words ruling you today? Well, I know some of my friends that don't get the picture, they're still, just quoting scripture, Jesus loves you. Yes, I know, for the Bible tells me so. And, and all these wonderful quotes. But, they're using pagan terms. And they'll never be set free because they're not willing to plow the field. They're not willing to do the work because it said it is a work, right? It is a work because and what did the scripture say? To rightly divide, which means to define, to rightly divide the words. And so if we don't define them, then we bought into the lie. We are under the rule of the false words. So it's foundational. Okay. One who doesn't want to know is the slave who doesn't want to be free. And an appropriate quote. That's my quote today. I wrote that down on a Post-it note here today. And so they're happy to be a slave. They don't want to have to work at it. They love ignorance. Ignorance is bliss because there's nothing you have to do. You see, the words are the DNA of life. That's another quote I put on my radio network 15 years ago. Words are the DNA. It's everything. Without communication, we couldn't do anything. We couldn't build buildings. We couldn't fellowship. We couldn't do anything other than look at each other and not understand each other, you know, because there would be no form of communication. So this is the great mystery, ladies and gentlemen, and it's the most important science. It is the first science because all the imagery that came out of creation is on variable planes of thought and communication, the vibrations of Yahweh. So, okay, so we read that. So the same, just in verse 2, just to finish this quote about the word with, so the same, that is the same thing, meaning the word is, not was, is in the beginning with Yahweh and the great Elohim. So the word is still there. Okay? The word is still there. It hasn't, disappeared. The word is still there at the beginning, the original, and it's still here with us. And I'm going to prove it to you now. I'm going to prove it to you because this is where I missed it yesterday. So let me go to the Chimera. Okay, I've now got the Chimera looking at us. It'll take a second to come through on the screen. Oh, Anna, last name. Hey, good to have you. I went a little further on that. She's in Finland for our new listeners. I did a few more things on the Magi yesterday, you know, because I think you were the one who brought it up, and for clarification. So I found a definition. I just was reading it yesterday, you know, and I said, geez, I got to read this on the broadcast. So go check it out. I think it was the evening broadcast. I can't remember now. But good to have you. And we're having our Interdependence Day over here in America, and it's the big lie, you know, of course. Well, no, we are interdependent, yeah, because we couldn't make it on our own now since all the industries bring us all the products we need, and we're a debtor nation twice over. But okay, so I put up the Chimera. I think you can see it now. And I did this about 2 programs ago. I did the word, you know, I defined all the imagery based on the word, right? Like toga is goat, you know, change to letters, you get goat. So toga, then, so that's the royal scapegoat up there. Those are the sellouts, the goat with the wound in its neck, because they, you know, they're chewed up and spit out when they're done with them, because there's no honor among thieves and liars and cheaters. So the image, get your pen and paper. Okay, you're gonna want to do this, because this is the magic that they play, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. This is the magic, and this is going to just be right on. It was there was a delay because now it fits my discussion this morning with the opening of the program. So Chimera, Chimera. Okay, there can be variable spellings depending upon, you know, whether it's in Latin or, that type of thing. But the general sense is Chimera, Chimera. And so word forms are like water. They're fluid. They move around in your hand, and therefore, if it's close, in other words, the idea of the anagram is when you readjust the letters, you may have to change a vowel, or you may have to pull out one letter that's extra, and you don't need it now when you read it backwards, or switch out the letters to the anagram. Okay, but look at it, Chimera. Now write down this word above or below it. Okay, and it is ARIMAIC. Chimera, which is a camera of life, a picture of life. When you switch out the letters, spells Aramaic. It is the anagram. Chimera is an anagram for the word Aramaic. Okay, and those are the letters on your driver's license today in the U.S. I don't know about the other countries. I haven't seen their driver's license, but I assume it's the same thing. Maybe Diane, you can tell me if you got all capital letters, or Anna, on your driver's license over there in your countries. But the capital letters is what's called the Phoenician alphabet, but it was only used by the Phoenicians. It is the original Aramaic there perfected by the Kabbalists, obviously, in more of an exact form. The ancient script, which is more crude, is a more primitive form and is a deeper code. But what the Kabbalists did is they spelled it out perfectly in the symbolism in our modern Phoenician alphabet, all capital letters. You know, we got a dual system. Think about this for a minute. Throughout all history, any culture only had one alphabet. Well, guess what? We got two alphabets. We got a dual system. We got capital letters, and then we got minuscule letters. We got the small letters and big letters. So we got a double play, double mint. Which one do you want? Oh, they blended them together. Well, that's called more confusion, more Babylon. You see, if I would go back to 1382, when John of Wycliffe of Oxford gave us the first English Bible, handwritten by the Lollards, then we would find out that there were no capital letters. Okay, Anna, you say it's the same over there. Thank you. Yeah, and so in 1382 in England, they did not use capital letters. They were all small letters, minuscule, meaning those are the sovereign letter. Well, they did a switch out. You know, it's the game is being played. The capital letters used to be the sovereign. Hey, good morning, Sundogan. Try having a lower letter in your last name. It is not recognized in the U.S. Okay, yeah, right, gotcha. In fact, I've been holding your first name on a card because I was going to give you the definition of that the day you came on. So I think you're here for it this morning. So I will do that when we get to the words, because of all the titles or names, you know, you were looking at that seem to be all of your family members. The best one actually is the one you have, being Shannon. Okay, that's the best one in my book. So I think you'll like to hear the definition of that. So capital letters over there in the UK, Diane. Okay, thank you. So yeah, so it's a universal system. They've got us under international law now, you know, and it's whenever you're receiving a letter with capital letters, it's also known as the nom de guerre or the nom de guerre, war diction. They're coming at you. They're waging war against you. Okay, so chimera is Aramaic. Chimera is Aramaic. So there you go, the smoking gun, ladies and gentlemen, with the chimera. Okay, it's a picture of life. So if the chimera is a picture of life, then also the Aramaic is a picture of life. You see, these are the DNA of life, and they were in the beginning. In the beginning. All right? And in fact, it says they are God. Why? Because the great spirit of life controls all DNA of life. And therefore, he knew that the darkness, that the enemy of mankind would use these letters and use this diction in order to play their tricks on us, but the joke's on them. You see, they used a system that could be back engineered. And the only reason I'm able to do this is because they wanted to create English, the hook, as a international one world order form of communication. You see, it's their Achilles heel. So they used their mother tongue. Okay, the mother tongue, the Malakaim, the royal messengers form of communication. They used it. And so that's why there's an interpretation of it, because it is the original code. Okay, and don't matter how you switch it out, the game is easily spotted once you know what's going on. Okay, then they can't hide anymore. Hang on. And I'm getting excited about this morning. I'm losing my voice already. So before we get on with the duality and with our first subtopics that we go through real quick, I just had to do that. But I wanted to give a read also because it was perfect. I was reading it this morning in my dictionary of all scriptures and myth. I read it every day, and one more definition out of the next letter of the alphabet, and I start over again at the end of 26 letters. And you have to pursue the knowledge. We have to pursue the knowledge. We're about out of here. This is not our home, and we're about, we're out of here, ladies and gentlemen. So it's time to just focus and to get ready for what's about to befall our planet, because there will be no recovery. Well, we only have to be prepared to leave this place. Okay. So under name in the dictionary, a symbol of perception of difference. A symbol of perception of difference, whereby one quality is distinguished from another. Whatever Adam called every living creature, that was the name that he gave it. Genesis 2:19. So Adam named all the things on the earth. Then later on, it was the Vatican, right? But Adam, he named everything for Yahweh and Yeshua, who was making everything. And so they were there together. You know, Adam was the first made on earth before all other life, and brought up to the throne of the sun in the great atom, and was there for the millions of years that life came together on earth. Okay, and then that which is first is like that which is last. He came last after all creation was here, and other types of people were here: the African, the Chinese, the Cro-Magnon, the Neanderthal, and a whole bunch of others that we don't even know about, including other giant species prior to the Nephilim as well. Okay, the truth is stranger than fiction, but we can't deny the archaeological evidence. And after 20 years of watching these YouTubes, boy, did I realize that, you know, the way we were told Genesis is not the way it really is. We've got to see through the burning swords of fire and recognize how they've been manipulated by man. And it's far greater. The story is far greater. And so, and I can't wait till I can get back on Word and do the transliteration of the first couple chapters of Genesis, because it's going to be a historical, document. You know, it's going to be the only correct draft, because they're all corrupt to some degree. And what Yeshua has shown me is absolutely mind blower. You know, I can't get over, that he's allowed me to see these things. So the primitive, continuing now on the definition of name, the primitive lower mind, Adam, began to perceive and reflect upon the differentiations of the sensations, desires, and lower emotions presented to the subconsciousness. And according as the mind energized the desires, so each emotion was distinguished. Knowledge commences in the perception of differences. In whatever you do, and that would be like, in the beginning when, they talked about, that Elohim knows that if we do this thing, then we will know the difference between good and evil. He didn't say good and evil. It said we would know the difference between sun and moon. Sun and moon, and that still fits today, because the moon represents the occult, the darkness, and the sun represents the light and the throne of the Great Spirit. Okay? And so no different today, because that's the primordial original symbolism. Everything else comes out of that. We get it, that it is light and darkness that they symbolize, and therefore it is also what we might call good and evil. So, but they used the original symbols to communicate. There was always something you could point to or look at in your verbiage, in your diction. So, continuing, almost done here. And whatever you do in word or in deed, do all in the royal title of Yahweh, and the healer, Yeshua, the Mashiach, Jesus the Christ, giving thanks to the great Elohim and Yahweh, the Father, through him. Colossians 3:17. The qualities are enjoined to identify themselves in all their ideas and activities with the spiritual differentiation denoted by the symbol Lord Jesus, which Lord, when it's associated with Jesus, is healer and pure breather of light. Yeshua, aspiring through this towards the absolute. That's where we got to go back. It's revealed. The truth is revealed, ladies and gentlemen. It can be revealed to you, just like to me. Upon the pillar thus worked into the temple of Yahweh's loving kingdom, there are 3 inscriptions. I will write upon him the title of my Yahweh, and the title of the city of my Yahweh and great Elohim, the new Jerusalem, which comes down out of the throne of the sun, and my new title. That's Revelation 3:12. The shul, the soul that in obedience to the great Elohim is growing into his likeness, is dedicated to the divine love, to the hope of of the perfect society. There you go. They say nobody's perfect. Well, it's saying right here, it's all dedicated to a perfect society. That's what we're supposed to be, right? Perfect man offends not in word and deed. Behold, he has perfected forever those who are set aside, those who are sanctified. It's all about the perfection of creation. We were imperfect in the world. He calls us out of the world to put on perfection and purity and honesty and decency and continuing, and to the ever new knowledge. Okay, the ever new knowledge, ever new. There you go, and of redemption and the great Redeemer. That's Phillips Brooks' sermon, The Pillars, etc. Okay, and then name and form, symbolic of aspects of matter, spirit, implying individual existence. And one more, names of beings. Let me take a sip here. Oh boy, I wish there was some super tonic for my voice, but I'm just going to have to work this out. Okay, excuse me. And okay, so continuing, names of beings. A symbol, and I hope you're getting the picture of the importance of, using the correct terms instead of Lord God, which came from the beast system, and to using Yahweh, who is the great Elohim. Notice the He, Yahweh. That is the breath of life from deep within. That's when he breathed into Adam, the He, the breath of life, and it is the bridge. It is also known as the bridge. That's what the capital H looks like, right? It's from one pillar over to the other. It's a crossover. It's a bridge. And it is the symbol of the earth because the earth is a bridge. All right? We're crossing over, right? We crash landed here. We're crossing over. We're not staying here. This is not our place. You can tell, right? Yeah. Okay, so where was I? Let me try this again. Names of beings, a symbol of differentiation of qualities, or of the differences by which each quality is distinguishable from other qualities. No knowledge of names and titles, therefore, implies acquisition of the qualities indicated. I am the great. Now, this is from the Book of the Dead, the Egyptian text, to show the parallels. I mean, they're a reflection of the Mashiach and the Christian story. That's what is the law of syzygy. The false archetypes are telling the truth in their own false traditions. The priesthood are the black magicians, but the people just are going along for the ride and wouldn't think their priesthood would lie to them. So they're giving them a tradition based on benevolence, even though we know the priesthood is always corrupt behind it. So I am the great Nu, good name, I like Nu, who gave birth unto himself, and who made his, and there's a reflection on Yeshua. You see, that's a parallel reflection on Yeshua. Yahweh gave birth to himself, his own image, in the perfect creation, the perfect man, Yeshua. Okay, continuing. Nu gave birth unto himself, and who made his title to become the company of the planets and the planes. What does this mean? Or who is this? It is Ra, the creator, and Ra is short for Ray. You add a Y to it and you get the royal eye and the ray of light. Okay, it's the same word. It is Ra, the ray of light, the creator of the names of his limbs. Okay, we're of his limbs, right? Remember I told you that the same word says, my eyes, my hands, my feet, you are my hands, you are my eyes, you are my feet. So we are his limbs, okay, which came into being in the form of the planets and then the lower planes. They all came down. The planets and the suns, the stars were the first expressions, and then the lower planes continue to come, and who are following, or who are in following the Ra. That's Budge, Book of the Dead, and continuing here, the eternal truth. Nu is self-existence and existent, and from the absolute proceed all differentiations. The manifesting self, Ra, differentiates into attributes. Oh, okay. So the manifesting self, being a Ra, means by implication that we are also seed of light. We came from the light. We're down here in the darkness. Think this is our party. This is all we got. and we have to wake up to the fact that we are from a higher order, a higher creation, not of this world. And this is the enemy down here, you see? And we become our worst enemies when we are falling into the traps. Okay, differentiation attributes. Differentiates into attributes and qualities, that's limbs. The qualities are like the limbs, which come into existence in space, time, consciousness, law, and the 5 planes, etc. For Ra is of many names. And that's the truth, right? We see Yeshua is Jesus, and then he's got a different name in every country, right? He's got the many names. Same with Yahweh. Okay, some say Yahweh. Yahweh is a middle ground that I've used, but I like to go to the Vol because it's Yahweh. It's the most original and most exact, and it gives honor to his royal title, not to be used in vain, but to be used as a recognition of the great one who made all things, the one who is before all things. Continuing, almost done. The creative source is in the transcendent self of all things, the self at its first differentiation into multiplex aspects or individualities, manifest at the same time the ideas with a capital I, which are inherent in all being. And these again descend into feeling, thought, and action, and finally into external structure and life, which later may be looked upon as largely due to the conditioning or limitation of any of the ideas manifested in one individuality by those manifested in another. Being has no differentiation except through the ideas, capital I, which is the manifest. Okay, that last sentence again. Being has no differentiation except through the idea, which would be then expressed in word, or the shavor, which is based on its manifestations. Okay, that's Carpenter, Art of Creation, page 121. One more quote. By the Lord's name, so Lord would be healer. By the healer's royal title is meant the all of doctrine. And his title, Yeshua, means knowledge. Shul, Yeshua is the original. The Shulanva, the knowledge of the serpent. The Yal Shulanva, the knowledge of the serpent that goes round. That's the most primitive aspect of Yeshua. Yal Shulanva. I don't say it often because I don't want to lose everyone, but that is the original, most primitive of Yeshua. Joshua, Yeshua, Yal Shulan Va, and it means the knowledge of the serpent that goes round, because everything is the serpent in the metaphor of the origin of creation. And that's how the original people thought, and that's how they spoke. And we have to get the picture, because we have inaccurate conceptions of the past based on improper teaching and what we've been shown. A snake is not evil by itself, just like a gun is not evil by itself. You know, it's about just simply knowing the way it was used in the pretext. So let me finish that quote again. By the healer and pure breather of light, the healer and pure breather of lights, and he was the Naga. The healer is the Naga. He's the serpent healer. And I don't say that often because, again, I don't want to lose everyone. So I say healer and pure breather of light. But the correct way, in the most original and primitive, would be the Naga serpent healer. Naga serpent healer. But I say healer and pure breather of light. His royal title is meant the all of doctrine. The all of everything is in the knowledge of Shul. And that's why there was a company that made shoes called Shoals, because it's a play on the word shul, meaning everywhere you go, you learn, because you're following the Spirit. Okay? You're an enlightened creature, and you're walking on your L's. Your L's are your ankle and your feet and your legs. The L, the capital L. You see it, right? The angle. And so you learn everywhere you go. It's about receiving the vision and the picture that is before you. In the cosmos, the all of religion, and in the cosmos, no other title or names are given but what involve the quality of anyone or anything. Okay? So there you go. And I hope you got the picture on that, and that you know, you meditate on these things, okay? Because there at one point, you know, you transcend the need, you know, like it says in 1 John 2:27. But the anointing that you receive from him abides in you, and you need not that anyone teach you, because the same teaches you about all things, and is not a part of any lie. And therefore, even as it teaches you, you will remain in it. So the idea here is that, you know, once you get some basic foundation in the tricks that have been played against you, what's going on, at one point, you know, you don't even need me to you know, to rehash this stuff out, because you're able to go direct to Yeshua, just like I am, and to receive it direct. That you don't need a priest, you don't need a seed planter, okay? But right now, you need some seeds planted in you about the great ripoff that has occurred to all of us, so that, okay, then you got it. Oh, wait a minute, okay, I get it. And so now you know that the only priest you have is Yeshua, and he's always with you, always. That's why I love that statement by Yeshua when he said to his followers the night he was betrayed, you know, well, you know, you're all going to abandon me, but the good news, I'm never alone, never alone. He is always ever present. And in the moments of my greatest persecution, wow, I never saw him act quicker. I never saw Yeshua move in my life than when I was facing the greatest challenge. A key word is diction. Thank you, Diane. But it actually goes further. Diction is relative to dictionary and dictate, and that's why I said the other half of Adam's name in the Strong's Concordance in the Hebrew was Dick, and it would be D-I-C-H, silent T, if the T would be with it. I'd have to go back and look at it again. But Dick meaning for like dictation, dictionary, diction, and you know, and so we even see the word addiction there, right, with an A in front of it, addiction. But the original word would have been lection. It goes further back, lection, L-E-C-T-I-O-N, because it's like a lecture. You know, you're lecturing, you're speaking, and they even got us to use this most important word every 4 years to vote for the next president in the election. Election, which means that we used our consciousness to choose the best enemy of mankind, you know, which is, you know, the next El Presidente. So so election is actually the original. So I find the middle ground again and choose diction over language, diction, or the tongue. You know, it's hard to say it and get people, you know, to immediately relate to it because it's more primitive. But the tongue, we speak a tongue, a foreign tongue, compared to other foreign tongues. So, and in the word tongue, it's two words. Isn't that always a funny spelling? You know, I've always looked at that word tongue. Look at that funny spelling. Why? Because it's two words. It's a code, and it literally means in the original, and this is the original in that sense, because it's a tongue, right? It's in your mouth. It's speaking, and it is the tone key. So, in other words, if I said to you, what language do you speak? In the primitive, I would say, what tone key do you use? What tone key? And tone, you can see the word ton. A ton is 2,000 pounds. It's heavy. And so it would be like implying, you know, what you say has heavy meaning, has substance behind it. It's heavy. The tone key. So there's your original thought, ladies and gentlemen. So we're into the duality revealed in patterns. And on a continuing discussion on how that which is false has taken over that which is true. You know, Israel was banished. You know, I was reading. Let me grab the book here real quick. I just want to share one line with you, okay? One line, because first it was Israel who was annihilated annihilated in 730 BC. And no longer existed. So for the last 2,730 years, Israel has not existed. They're gone, out of here, no more, right? And so, so where is that? Okay, here it is, right here. So, okay, I'll read just this this one paragraph in Fenton's scripture in 2 Kings 24, 2 through 4, and then the final point will be at the bottom of 4. But Yahweh sent against him, being the king, the final king of Judah, the troops of the Kasidim, and the troops of Aram, and the troops of Moab, and the troops of Ammonites, who he sent against Judah, to destroy it. That's Yahweh. He sent the troops to destroy it. Okay, even Judah, the little one, making all of Israel, all of Israel, then in one package of being annihilated. Okay, over, done. Why? Because it was a false image. It was used just like the earth. One day will be gone, destroyed, and it looks like it's about to happen. Actually, right? That what he created to serve a purpose ultimately was rolled up and destroyed. Why? Because that which has a beginning has an end. That which has a beginning is temporary in this universe, but our spirit is eternal. Okay? So the physical reality that we see around us is here for the chimera, a picture for a moment, and then it's gone. Okay? And so, and speaking of chimera, let me get back to that other nice picture now. Where was that? Rainbow? Oh, yeah, there we go. And okay, let me not finish my point here. So he sent against Judah to destroy it because it was Yahweh's intention, his intention against Judah, to turn it from his presence, to get rid of it. That's what it means, to get rid of it, turn it from its presence. And for the closing of the eyes of Manasseh, the most wicked ruler of them all, Manasseh, in all that he did, and also for the innocent blood that he shed, filling Jerusalem, with innocent blood, which Yahweh was not willing to forgive. Not willing to forgive. Okay, that's the old world. That's not Yahweh through Yeshua when the truth is revealed. But look at it. Not willing to forgive. They're done. Over. That's 603 BC. 100 years after Israel is gone. 130 years after Judah is gone. Nebuchadnezzar comes and destroys the temple, takes all the wealth that's left, and they are no more from that time and forever. Forever. So what we see today is the biggest show on earth, this thing called Israel. It is a racket. They are racketeers. They are, better than the SS stormtroopers of Germany, these Mossad, and Israelis. They are wicked. And they are not pseudo. They are not real. It is the greatest show on earth. They got everybody under the spell. Love Israel, worship Israel. And it's absolutely amazing. And I just want to qualify. Anybody want to, try to say we're dealing with hateful speech here? Okay, I have friends who are Jews. I have friends that embrace Israel. Okay, I would be a friend of anybody who claims to be an Israeli from the Khazar tradition if they were good people. Okay, it has nothing to do with hatred of culture. We're talking about facts of history and facts of our modern time about we have a right to define when we're being lied to. Thank you for the thumbs up there, Diane. It's all Hollywood. There you go, Hollywood, the biggest show on earth, and so we can't be set free if we don't know we're being lied to. The people using the Old Covenant Tanakh, calling themselves Israel, are following the Babylonian Talmud. Their Bible is the cover. I can slow down now, Diane. Is that what you're saying? Okay. So, yeah, I know you get it. I know you do. So, but, it's like I've never been able to present it this way. I've never seen it more clearly myself. I've always known it. But after just reading through the scriptures again, and just finishing the book of Kings today. Just finished it today. Okay, thank you for the second heads up. So let's get into the images, okay? The duality, because that was a part of it. when, I don't think we can say it enough, though. Okay, I just want to make that point because we need people to hear it. We need people to be set free, and so the message has to get out. So I hope you'll, these last several episodes, you can send a link, copy the link and send it to some friends in an email, or post it on Facebook, but get the message out because these people are the ones who took down 3,000 people in 2 giant buildings in New York. And had a party that night celebrating the deaths of 3,000 Americans and other foreign people. Yeah, that's it. That's it, Anna. Okay, so let's talk about the duality again. And when Jacob had to escape Laban's land, Lebanon, Laban's home turf, and had to get out of there with this deceptive merchant who was only interested in money and wealth. And so they're all Rachel and Leah and all their sons are on their camels, and they're hiking it out to the promised land again, and to back to where Abraham and Yitzhak are still there. The rest of the story is in the book of Jasher, of course, because we don't know the other players are still there. The grandfather is there, and there's a whole lot of interaction going on we don't hear about in our Genesis story that's in the book of Jasher. And by the way, you can go to artisanpublishers.com if you want to get a copy. Artisanpublishers.com. It's they're over there in Oklahoma. I've been talking to my friends over there at Artisan Publishers for over 20 years. They took over all of Raymond Kapp's discoveries and works and did a fine job of republishing them in great form. Okay, so when Laban, before he went after Yaakov, he wanted to go to his 2 idols, right? And he couldn't find them in the little nook and cranny that he puts his little 2 idols there. I guess they represent the two columns. They represent again these 2 columns that sacrifices had occurred. So these are 2 images. It doesn't give a detail about what they were, or what they looked like per se. But so we have 2 idols, and so when the seed of light, which is what Yaakov means, Jacob, the seed of light are coming back and escaping, and so Rachel, remember, Rachel was the one that was preferred, not Leah, and so the one that was preferred, that gave birth to Volshaph, to Joseph, and then to Benjamin, the smallest in the picture, the youngest. She's sitting on her camel, pregnant now, and I think with Benjamin, I think Joseph was already born. I can't remember at the moment off the top of my head, but it's not important. The point is that she's pregnant, and the symbolism is like at the time when Yeshua was ready to come, to earth 2,000 years ago, and the earth was pregnant now, ready to receive their royal ruler, and so Rachel is pregnant with symbolic of the salvation that was to come, while at the same time she's sitting on the idols of Laban, meaning the bane. Laban means Laban, the worthless. Bane is worthless. So she's sitting on that which is worthless, while at the same time she's pregnant, and symbolizes the bringing forth of the seed of light for redemption and soul novation, becoming a new star. You see? So there's your duality again. We got the true with the false right under her bottom, right there in the saddle. Okay? And she's hiding it. But the reverse is what's true, because that which is false is hiding and sitting on what is true. And that's why, even though we can't make idols and images, I could go look at the Vatican and interpret the meanings on the walls. They're telling a story, the hand signals, the imagery itself, and the same in Babylon, same in Egypt. It's telling a story that can be interpreted, but we don't make those kind of pictures because we were told, not to make images of things above, things below, or things in the water. So, and we are the images. We are the images of the great Yahweh. He wants to make us into his perfect image, you see. Okay, Love Matters. Thank you for stopping by and for helping out a friend as well with Jody getting on here. So we'll talk to you later. Be safe on this the fourth of the big lie, and be careful going to public places. Okay, I wouldn't take my family to a public place anywhere, considering what's going on. So now we're on to symbolism, ladies and gentlemen. We're working our way to the read, and so. I know I get long-winded. I can't help myself. All right, this is it's also important, and I know that this helps many of you out on your journey because you didn't have the books that I'm looking at, and so I'm sharing it with you. Okay, and we're in this together, and so this is something that can be relevant for your own transcendence. So lightning and thunder. Okay. Little definition of lightning and thunder in regard to symbolism. It's the hurling of the thunderbolts, or striking by lightning. I take a sip here. Hang on. Is the transformation from the unmanifest to the manifest, or the unrevealed to that which is revealed in creation, forms and matter. Here also, this symbol of the dragon can be two-sided, either as a rain god or as an enemy of the rain god, preventing the rain from falling. It is associated with the sea and with the great deep, as well as the cosmos and the mountain tops, the clouds, and the solar eastern regions, etc. Okay, so that's just a small definition of the symbolism there. And of course, for me, when I was struck by lightning while I was washing my hands in the faucet, and the house was hit over there in East Texas, where I was staying at my treasurer's house, and the lightning came right on top of the water, it rode the water. The white lightning flowed over the water, and then like a soccer ball surrounded my hand in the sink, and it was all trimmed in gold, and I could hear the electrical sound going zzz. And then it went back up the faucet. The white light, while the water's still coming down, the white lightning went back up. It was the most amazing thing to see. And I had a vision that I was holding a sword in my hand, a 30,000-foot sword in my hand, because I had just lost my house on a lake, fell victim to a bunch of local phony patriot government agents that cost me my house on a lake. And my everything, that I had there in my beautiful 1 acre in paradise. And so I was doing the next best thing, going to my sponsor in West Virginia on her goat farm, and, was going to regroup there. Little did I know I was moving into a government sting operation over there, and I was going to meet the test of my life. So Yeshua said, my son, I have now put a sword in your hand. You got 25 years of study, and now you got a sword in your hand. You know the truth. You know the scriptures, and now you're going to learn to do battle, brother. Okay, thank you very much, Father. And if I knew what was going to happen to me, I never would have went to West Virginia, never, because it was painful. It's painful to go through the purging of this world and through persecution. The pain is real, and we suffer. But the beauty is if you can hang in there, and that's when I learned. Okay, one more symbol, because it's worth capping this one off. This is important for you to know. Okay, when you're persecuted, when you go through something, because I don't think anybody gets the picture of what those crown of thorns represent. Okay, what those crown of thorns represent. It's a plant. The crown of thorns that were used is a plant in Israel that bears a red fruit, and when it bears the red fruit, you can eat it, and it's sweet. Okay, and so I know that I know. By experience, Diane. It comes to it's not just reading; it's through the walk as well, the experience of life, And so I had to go through being a political activist at the time, which I'm not anymore. And so when I was being tortured in a mental forensics unit where they're freezing my cell while it's wintertime outside and there's snow on the ground, they're blowing cold air in my cell, 50 degrees. And I had to wear a winter jacket, and then at the same time they're tainting my water, and one day it tastes like perfume, another day it tastes like aspirin, and I know it was messing with my mind, and I felt like a basket case, while I'm in the struggle for for the truth and for my life. And I got a criminal element, a criminal racket of Freemasons and river pirates from the panhandle of West Virginia and Ohio on the Ohio River. Then literally, I borrowed a book from someone else that was in there, and it was the handbook of the Bible, or something like that. It was a type of handbook with definitions in it, and so I opened it up and I read about the crown of thorns, and I couldn't believe it. About the origin of the crown of thorns, and so yeah, of course. So literally, what the crown of thorn means is it has to do with the mental anguish that at one time in your life you will go through, and so what the story or the axiom in the symbolism is that at times you will go through so much mental torture that okay, very, very good, son dog, and thank you for sharing that. One day we'll have to hear that. But what the crown of thorn means is that if you can every now and then you're going to go through some type of mental torture. It'll be physical and will certainly be mental. And what the crown of thorns symbolizes is, remember, it's a crown. It's a crown on your head. But what it means is that no matter how great the pain may be, the torture that you are experiencing may be, if you can just hang in there, just hold on, because your Redeemer, just like the sun rises in the morning and you never question that the sun will rise, what it means is that you just have to hang in there, because what once was a crown of thorns upon your head will turn into the sweetest red fruit that you will ever be able to eat. And that was my victory of light when I was delivered from the occult and from those very nasty and wicked Freemasons and river pirates that have been there generationally, working with the Chicago Mafia, for generations. So the truth is, you don't question if the sun's going to come up, and if you know you serve your Redeemer, it's your ultimate test, and you know He comes for you. He comes for you. He will give you signs and visions and dreams. Yeah, well, we have to hold on. That's it. So there you go on that symbolism, ladies and gentlemen. Now, the words that kill, and I thought you'd enjoy hearing the origin of the word temple, and then I'm going to compare it with the word we don't want to use, which is synagogue, and I'll tell you why. Okay, so temple, and you can hear it real easily, but if it's not pointed out, then we would never get the picture. But what was the original temple? Was it a building cut with stone? I don't think so. Obviously, the first temple might have to be transported, because most of these people were migrants, and they went around with their camels and their sheep and looking for water and looking for good grazing ground, right? And so what would have been the first temple? It would have been a tent, and in the tent you've got a tent pole, because the tent pole is in the middle of the tent, and then you can set up shop in there, whether you're going to have your house or the place where you go pray and pay homage to your Redeemer, your Maker, the one who you love, your Yahweh, your great Elohim. And so temple is tent pole, TENT -POLE, tent pole. That's where the word comes from. It's so the most primitive. I'll give you another example. So you say, okay, I think you're stretching it here, Desert, aren't you? No. Everything, it all works the same way. So why do we call, when we want a good side of beef, we want a 12-ounce sizzling, a steak, right? We want that side of beef. Give me it well done, okay? I love it burned a little bit. And so the question would be, where does the word, Anna, are you asking me a question? Your body? I don't know the question. If you're maybe you're talking to Diane. So remember, if it's a question, put it in the form of a question. If it's a request, put it in all capital letters. Question, all capital letters. But anyway, so I'm not following because I'm going somewhere here. Okay, so like temple. Where did the word steak come from? Steak. Okay. Well, it doesn't, it's not apparent, if you just look at it in the restaurant, but what was the original way that they cook their meat when they're out there in the woods hiking it and shooting venison, right? And other big game, and they cut their the piece of meat off, right? And they're going to put it over the fire. How do they put it over the fire? They're going to get a stake, and they're going to stick the meat on the end of this pointy stake, and then they're going to lean it over the fire so that the fire can cook it. That's the stake. So the stake is not the meat. The stake is what holds the meat over the fire. You see? So I could keep going on with those type of pictures, okay? But I wanted to give you another example. So there you go. So what's the difference between a temple and a synagogue? Okay? Well, a synagogue is occultic, and we got to look at the primary suffix, which is the suffix, the soul of the word. And synagogue is, you look at the word Gog. You see that in Revelations, right? There was Gog and Magog, Gog and Magog, and we get kind of a negative picture of them because it's like we don't know really who they are, or and but it's simple. Okay, Gog. What do we put on when we're working with a grinder or we're welding? We put, or we go underwater. We put on the Gog L's, the Gog L's. Okay, sin. You got the picture, Diane. You got the first part. Hang in there. And but it's the meaning of the word sin. Okay. So anyway, so Magog means the mother god, or Gog means, the father. Magog is mother, Gog is father. And so they're symbolized as sun and moon. Remember I said everything goes back to sun and moon. So the Magog is the a moon because it has no light. Therefore, it's the lesser light, it's the smaller. That's why the woman, is smaller in frame, has smaller muscles, because that's the smaller light. So the bigger light represents the male, and that's Gog. That's the all-seeing eye. That's the symbol, the logo of the great spirit of life, who sees all things, knows all things, is in all things. Okay. So the occult are just using that terminology. We got a bad idea of the all-seeing eye because the occult use it. They just stole it. Our Redeemer is all-seeing, right? Yahweh is all-seeing. So how can that be a negative? It's good. It puts us to the fire. We know the truth. So okay. So synagogue literally means, remember, sin means to have your eyes closed. You're in the darkness. Why? Because your eyes are closed in sin. Remember, I showed the different variables. The root of the word sun is SN. And so the same word for sun, if we find the word sin, change the vowel. So the prime root is the serpent and the end, the light that came down, put the vowel in the middle, and then it's blindness. The letter I is blindness. So synagogue literally means to put out the eye of the sun, or in other words, to put out the light. Okay, so we don't have anything to do. I don't use the word synagogue when I'm reading. I use temple. Okay, and synagogue means to put out the light of the sun, or the eye of the sun, or to put out your light, to put out your eye. You see how cultic that is? So all the Jews go to the temple, and they're regular people, just like the regular Christians. Most of the Jewish people are good people. They're not in on the grand scheme of banking, and the charade. In fact, it's a big story. But basically, there's a lot of just good, decent Jewish people. And therefore, they're also being deceived in their own synagogue, which put out the eye of the sun. They're not seeing the light. They cover one eye. Yeah, in the occultic, they're covering, I believe, the right eye, the right eye, because they're on the left. And we'll see that in the movies big time. Okay. So now we're with Shannon, and I hope, Shannon, are you still with us? Sundagen, I hope you're there, because she may have had to go. She's a busy lady. I know she's got a lot of stuff that she does over there in the District of Criminals. But okay, she'll know to come back because I already told her it's here. So Shannon, It's being recorded, so you'll know to come back on it. It's at just over 1 hour. Excuse me, let me cough. I got to mute out here. Hang on, I got to clear my throat. I'm hanging in there. Hope you are. Okay, so Shannon is basically 2 words in the prime, bordering on 3 words, but it's Shah. So write down Shannon, Shannon. Okay, and then so Shah, Sha, and then Anon. Anon means immediate. So it has to do with the immediacy of the royalty. Anon means right away. We'll see that in some of our scriptures, actually, still, the word anon. But then what we have in the word anon is the word an, A-N-N-A. And also we can see the word anno, A-N-N-O. And so Anna means harvest, as we talked about anagram. You're harvesting words. In the anagram, you're harvesting the word. You're looking at it backwards. You're changing out the letters, getting the hidden meaning. And so Shah Anan implies the royal harvest that has come down, and it means annual. So it's talking about the cycles of life, whether it's the great age, or it's the annual year, or it's the week, or the month. It's the royal harvest that has come down in time. Okay, so that's Shannon. So that's really a good name, and she'll have to come back on that, I guess. So Shannon's gone, and so a book review. We're in her books. That's what it is. I was looking at my next card. So thank you for hanging in there with me, friends. And I know these segments on the history of the church by Eusebius, it should go pretty quick. And I try to, rapid fire. I think you've noticed I get out more words per hour than any other radio host or guest in history. And that's because there's a lot to say, isn't there? And there's just not enough time to say it all. That's the real tragedy in this saga. So we're in 7 now. The alleged discrepancy in the gospel. A discrepancy in the gospels? There wouldn't be one of those, would there? Yes, there would be, wouldn't there? When you got occultic priesthoods running the show. So let me get a little clip for my page here so it stays where it belongs. And so the alleged discrepancy in the gospels as to Christ's genealogy. Okay, and there is no discrepancy, by the way. It is only in the minds of those who can't see and read it for themselves. So the genealogy of the Moshiach, and by the way, you are welcome to call in. Oh, there she is. Did you hear it? Okay, I guess she was listening off in the distance and couldn't get to it quick enough. So, okay, good enough. You got it here first, son doggin. Okay, so the genealogy of the Mashiach, Christ, has been differently recorded for us in the Gospels of Matthew and Luke. So I could imagine that for many of you, you're still confused about that, right? Because I know the answer. It's beautiful. Wait till you hear the answer, okay? Most people see a discrepancy in this, and through ignorance of the truth, and I'm not sure. I don't remember where Eusebius is going, but I know the story, and I've got the answer already in my head. So I'm interested to see where Eusebius takes it, because I can't remember if I got it from him or from another source. So we're going to find out together. Most people see a discrepancy in these genealogies, and this is through ignorance of the truth. It usually is, and each follower has been only too eager to dilate the length on these passages. Excuse me. So I feel justified in reproducing an explanation of the difficulty that has come into my hands. This is to be found in a letter which Africanus, to whom I referred by a little while back, I wrote to Aristides on the harmony of the gospel genealogies, having first refuted other people's theories there is no need for a theory. Okay, theory, yeah, as forced and demonstrably false. He set out the explanation he had himself received. I will quote his actual words. The names of the families in Israel were reckoned either by nature or by law. By nature, when there was a genuine offspring to succeed. By law, when another man fathered a child in the name of a brother who had died childless. For as no clear hope of being raised from the dead yet had been given. That's what Judah, right? Judah was supposed to do that with Tamar, right? We read that yesterday, and he didn't do it. It was an obligation that Judah had, and he didn't want to fulfill it. And so the woman took control of the situation, and it was beautiful, right? What a story! And she convicted him right to his heart, and said, "Whose tokens are these? Excuse me." Okay. Running after horse, but wouldn't do the right thing? Wow. Okay. So continuing here, let me back up now. For no clear hope of being raised from the dead had yet been given, so they portrayed the promise of the future with a mortal rising up in order that the name of the deceased might be preserved for all time. These genealogies therefore comprise some who succeeded their actual fathers, and some who were the children of one father but were registered as children of another. Thus the memory of both was preserved, the real and nominal fathers. Thus neither of the Gospels is in error, since they take account of both nature and law, for the two families descended from Solomon and Nathan, respectively. For the two families descended from Solomon and Nathan, respectfully, were so interlocked by the remarriage of the childless widows and the raising up of offspring that the same person could rightly be regarded at the different times as the children of different parents, sometimes the refuted father, sometimes the real. Thus both accounts are perfectly true, being in line down to Joseph in a matter of complex, perhaps, but certainly accurate. And I don't, let's see, there's that. So I'm going to read half of this today because it's a little longer than I was hoping. So I'm going to read over to the next page, then we'll stop there and we'll finish it tomorrow. But I'm not sure where it's going yet when it's talking about the law versus nature, because I already know the answer, and I'm questioning whether Eusebius actually had the right answer here. What I am trying to say will become clear if I explain the interrelation of the families. If we reckon the generations of David through Solomon, we find that the third from the end is Matan, who begot Jacob, Volshev's father. If we follow Luke and reckon from David's son Nathan, the corresponding third from the end is Melchi, Joseph being the son of Heli, Melchi's son. Joseph then being the subject of our study, I have to explain how each appears in the record of his father, Jacob tracing his descent from Solomon and Heli from Nathan. Before I must explain how these two, Jacob and Heli, were brothers, before how their father, Nathan and Melchi, members of different families, are stated to have been Joseph's grandfathers. Well, now, Nathan and Melchi, successive husbands of the same wife, fathered half-brothers, for the law allows a woman who has been either divorced or widowed to marry again. The wife in question, whose name is given as Esther, first married Nathan, the descendants of Solomon, and bore him Jacob. Then on the death of Nathan, the widow married Melchi, whose line went back to Nathan, who belonged to the same tribe, though not to the same family. I'd like to know how he got all this, because I'm questioning whether he's going to give the answer that I know is absolutely correct, true, correct, and complete. And he's given all of this complex stuff here. I don't remember this. And by him, a son of Heli. Thus, through the families were different, we shall find that Jacob and Heli had the same mother. While Heli died childless, his brother Jacob took his wife, and by her became the father of Joseph in the third generation, according to the nature which was his son, and according to reason, so that Scripture says Jacob begot Joseph, but according to the law, he was Heli's son. Well, you see, here's the problem, and I don't find this going where I suspected it would go. So I'm going to stop it here, and I'm going to read the rest on my own to try to find out where this goes without, boring you at the moment, because I'm going to give you what I know to be true and correct, because this is how Yeshua works. It's really simple. He's gotten into it, maybe because he had the library. He was the librarian, and he probably had so many records that he's a little bit overwhelmed with the simplicity of the story. But he's not given it here, and I'm not surprised, because actually Eusebius did become, part of the beast system. He took the library over there. Rather than be willing to be crucified on a stake, he took the library over there to Turkey for Constantine. So he was part of the sellouts. So I'm not giving him credit at the moment until I finish reading it on my own, see where it goes. Because I'm going to tell you the story simply. And by the way, I've got the Hebrew Gospel of Matthew, and in there it's how in Matthew it says, and there were 14 generations, and then 14 generations, and 14 generations. Well, the last one only has 13. Okay, so it's not even true, correct, and complete, and therefore it's misleading. Because, but yet the Hebrew Gospel of Matthew from the 1500s, I've got a copy of, actually has 14, 14, and 14. And the reason that it apparently one name was dropped is because two of the names were virtually identical, and therefore the scribe thought it was a duplicate and didn't put it in. Okay, glad you liked that, son doggin. Okay, and yeah, I thought you'd enjoy hearing that. So it's all good, and it's a good sign anyway. So anyway, so to get to the simplicity of this story about the genealogies, the one that was done in the Hebrew Gospel of Matthew was the genealogy through Volshap, Joseph. Okay, the adopted father of Yeshua, because he was not the physical father. So the line of David comes through the male, through Joseph, symbolically, but it was not of his seed, because it was the seed of the sun, not from the seed of the moon, of the people of the earth. It was from the seed of the sun, from Yahweh himself, through the word. Oh, through the word, by the way. We started with the words. And how was she impregnated? By hearing. By hearing, she trusted that what the Gabriel said to her was true, and she was impregnated through hearing. Okay? So the word again rules. And so it was a miraculous event, obviously. But then the genealogy with Luke, and the story about who Luke is in all the movies is not true, because Luke was with the followers from the beginning. Okay, he was there all along. That's why he could write his own gospel, because he was there from the beginning. Unlike Mark, who wrote the shortest because he wasn't there and he was a kid, and then he followed Kefe, Peter, around while he gave his sermons all the way to Rome, and that's why he could write it only from memory and jumbled up in its order, because he didn't know the accurate order. But so the genealogy in Luke, you can see it's different. It's not the same line. It's different, but it does come through David, and so that's the female. That's the line for Mary. Okay, so the genealogy in Luke represents the woman. Her genealogy, she's been given a credit because they have to prove the royalty. They have to prove the lineage going back all the way to Adam, wherein in Matthew, it only goes back to the period when they were banished in Babylon. No, I think back to Abraham. Yeah, back to Abraham. I'm doing this by memory. Okay, and so you'll notice when they come out of Babylon, it's with Zoroaster or the guy with the Z. What's his name? Because it was the zero starting over in the count with the zero. I'd have to go back and look now, okay? But I don't want to belabor that. So I just wanted to give you the simplicity of it. I will follow up on this and then check it out to see if it's worth, even pondering, because I know that the genealogies are for both parents, okay? That makes sense. And you can see when you're reading them, they're not identically the same when they go back until they reach David. At that point, they merge because they branched off. Okay? So, but they're both in the line of David. So anyway, just want to clarify that. Okay, we're in the original gospel. I'll just probably read one chapter here, and then we'll be good to go. Okay, so we're in chapter 8, and Mare and Elisabeth and Volshef and their two boys, Yochanan and Yeshua, are in Zoan in Mitzrayim, Egypt, and they are there for 3 years, and they're receiving lessons from the wise Shalom and Elihu. So again, Elihu met his pupils in the Chakra Grove and breathed. No blood of the earth, no man can live unto himself. For every living thing is bound by cords and connections to every other living thing by thread. Baruch, endowed and enlightened, are the pure in heart, for they will love and not demand love in return. They will not do unto others what they would not have others do unto them. Though there are two selves, the higher etheric self and the lower self. The higher self is supernatural and spirit, clothed with the energy of light, and made in the form of Yahweh, who is the great Elohim. And the lower self is the carnal self, the body of desires and needs, a reflection of the higher self, but distorted by the dark, murky ether of the flesh and matter. The lower self is an illusion, temporary, and will pass away. But the higher self is Yahweh in blood of the earth, the great breath of the wind and fire, who is the great Elohim and will not pass away. The higher self is the embodiment of truth from the tree's root. The lower self is the truth reversed. And so this is how falsehood is revealed. The higher self is pure equity and right, justice, mercy, love. And the lower self is what the higher self is not. The lower self breeds hatred, slander, lewdness, murder, theft, and everything that harms. The higher self is mother of virtue and the balance and the harmonies of life. The lower self is rich in promises, but poor in deliverance of the shalom of eternal peace. It offers pleasures and joy and satisfying gain, but only delivers unrest and misery and death. It gives blood of the earth, golden apples that are pleasing to the eye and pleasant to the smell, yet at their core they are full of bitterness and gall. If you would ask me what to study, then I would tell you to study yourself. And when you had finally finished studying yourself, and then would ask me, what should I study next? I would reply, study yourself. The I, that's he, the I who knows well his lower nature, his lower self, knows the illusions of this world, and then knows the things that pass away. And the I who knows his higher self knows the great Elohim of Yahweh and knows well the things that cannot pass away. 3 times endowed and enlightened is the blood of the earth, who has made purity and divine love his very own. The I, he has been ransomed from the dangers of this lower self and world, and is himself then the higher self. Blood of the earth seek soul novation, salvations. Soul novation, to be made into a new star. They seek that soul novation from the dark blindness that they deem a living monster, the ignorance of the nether world, the illusions, and they have deities that are but dark manifestations in disguise, all powerful to them, yet full of jealousy and hatred and lust, whose favors must be bought and paid for by costly sacrifice of fruits and the lives of birds and animals and even earthly kind. And yet these deities possess no ears to hear, no eyes to see, no heart to sympathize, no power to save. This blindness is a fallacy. These deities are made of thin air and clothed with the shadow of false conceptions, wrong thinking. The only adversary from which blood of the earth must be redeemed is himself, the lower self. If blood of the earth wants to find his adversary, his devil, then he must look within. Its name is self. If blood of the earth wants to find his redeemer, his savior, his shavor, the word, the root, then the eye must look within. And when the dark nature of self has been dethroned, the shavor of love, travain love, will be exalted up to the highest throne of that power, symbolized by the great logo, the sun. The David of life, of the light, is purity, who slays the strong Goliath, the bitter non-truth. That's the Goliath, ladies and gentlemen, the lie. Look at the words right there. The Goliath. The non-bitter truth. The bitter non-truth. Excuse me. We have to slay the bitter non-truth, the Goliath of the darkness, and seat the Shavor, the word, the Savior, the flaming sword, the logo, the symbol of light and truth and peace and love that you need to become, the travain love upon the throne of light. And you just got the forbidden history right here, ladies and gentlemen. What they didn't want you to know, but we tell right here. Perfect beginning, perfect ending. All began with the word, and it all ends with the word. And the throne of light, ladies and gentlemen. I want you all to be safe out there. This is a day we should be looking out for false flags and consider, places you go where you may not want to go. And remember, there's no safe place out there in the sun anymore, okay? Because it's one of those illusions again, right? Because we don't see the UVB, we don't see the UVC, we think it's not there, but it's there. You saw those pictures by Mr. MBB333, right? He showed the fruit the other day, the fruit on the trees, and other plants just dying in the sun. Well, what you see happening to plants, that's the canary in the mine, okay? Life is dying around us, and you continue to absorb UV, B, and C. You don't release it. It builds up. It ultimately causes cancer. First symptoms are cataracts, heart attack, and hernia, okay? So, and babies and children are the most vulnerable. The most vulnerable because they're in their development stage, and it goes right at the DNA. And that's why the muscles break down. That's why the heart attack. So, Anna, you're saying in psychopaths, the frontal lobes do not function normally. and the frontal lobes are the necessary organ to have emotion, ability, compassion, regret, and so on. And you got to write that. Yeah, thank you for that, Anna, and love to you over there in the United Kingdom. Diane, thank you for being here, and all of you. So be safe, okay? Realize we're not in Kansas anymore, and we're going somewhere, and it's not down here. We're going somewhere else. Thank you, Love Matters. And so just don't forget, okay? If you want to know the future, just look for the Forbidden History, because we're here twice a day, 9 a.m. every morning, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and we're the realpublicradio.net, okay? They're phony out there. All mainstream radio, AM and FM, all phony. We're here to serve you, okay? And thank you, Diane, as well, and Sundoggin and Lynn and everybody for stopping by. May the peace of Yeshua belong to you, okay? And be well. I'm Desert Owl, thanking you for tuning in. We'll see you later this evening.